Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to recover my table with some flooring so we can get ready for crafting. First thing we're going to use is a 60 grit sandpaper. You can use whatever grits you have. The finer the grit, the more sanding you'll have to do depending on the surface of your table. And we're going to use some flooring that I have left over from this room, as well as a box cutter. This is a foldable box cutter that Jim has. The first thing we're going to do is clean off the table. The one thing I will tell you that I used that I didn't show was baby wipes, but a tack cloth would be better when you use wet. When you use something wet to remove the sawdust from the table, then you have to let it dry. Tack cloth is actually better because there's no drying time. It just takes up all the sawdust. So I just want to show you I'm using a 60 grit. That's actually a pack of sandpaper that I had for ages. I used to work with my dad on stuff, and he's been gone for over 12 years. So the first thing we're going to do is just sand out all of the chunks of glue, the big pieces of paint, everything that's going to create texture. It's not about being clean. I mean, you don't want any oily residue, and like I said, you don't want it to be wet because you don't want to give your floor tiles any reason not to stick. The floor tiles we're using are these ones from Lowe's. I got them for $1 a square foot, which is $1.50 a tile. And they are fantastic. I have them all in my bedroom and now in the craft room and now on the table. So what I'm doing really quickly is I'm just taking the sandpaper. I'm knocking down all of the hills. Like I mentioned before, it doesn't have to be clean, because if I could get the table clean, I wouldn't have to cover it with flooring. But we just want it to be as bump free as possible. Now, I did get most of the glue and big globs of paint off ages ago when I moved the table and redid the room, but I just wanted to show you that if you don't, then just take that time. You can use a scraper if you want to. If you have electric sanders, that's going to make it even quicker work of it. Okay, now if your tabletop has a finish on it, you want to add a tooth. My tabletop has been through the ringer and back, and it does not have any finish left on it except for the very edges. So what I did on the very edges is I just sanded them in the other direction, in the opposite way of the grain. Okay, now as far as the flooring is concerned, I'm gonna do like a quick just a quick design layout. I don't want any seams to be right where I'm working, and I don't want any seams to butt up to each other. You don't want to make two seams in the same row. You want to make sure that you stagger them. Okay, now just like natural flooring, there's no rhyme or reason to it. You shouldn't have any kind of pattern. You should make it look as haphazard and as organic as possible. So all I'm doing is I'm laying the first tile towards me. Again, if I had to cut edges, I don't want the cut edges to be where I'm going to work, because that takes away the integrity of the wood, basically, or the flooring. Basically, if I just had like a little sliver going across where I'm going to lean on every day and wipe off with baby wipes, it's going to cause it to actually a better chance of it falling off, basically. So I wanted to show you that because I'm using the straight edge of the table, I'm taking a Sharpie, I'm laying the floor butted up against the first tile, and then I'm underneath the table. I am just marking with a Sharpie where I need to cut. Because I'm using that sort of straight edge and I'm having a little bit of extra give on the edge, I'm showing you that you can just cut it with freehand if you wanted to. Now I'm just showing you that. Then I also want to show you that this particular tile I cut and laid before I realized that the surface of the tile, the sticky part that's actually like the wood look, is peeling up. So we had to redo that piece. I just wanted to show you that, to maybe pay attention to that before you start cutting. Of course, I did not. So learn from me. Learn from my mistakes. Don't make any of your own. Okay. So basically what we're doing is we're just going to butt up factory edge to factory edge. We're going to like I said, mark underneath with the underneath the board with the Sharpie right up against the edge of the table. And this time I'm going to show you we're going to use a Dollar Tree square and a box cutter to go ahead and score and snap. Now I usually use the Dollar Tree's box cutters. I love them very, very much, but Jimmy brought this in for me because this is the one he used when he laid the floor, and he loved it the best of all. So I took my husband's word for it. But what you want to make sure you do when you're putting the tiles down is you want to make your edge in the front where you're going to lean the most. You want to make that perfectly up against the edge of the table, and then you want to make sure it butts with very little to no spacing. This particular floor tile does have a little bit of a crack, not a crack, a little bit of a space naturally, because they want it to make it look like it's natural floorboard, which would have some sort of space. And if that really bothers you, they do have vinyl floor grout. They do make it where you can actually fill in all those cracks. I was talking to Jim, and that may be something that we do in the future, depending on how this tabletop wears. I might have to go ahead and just fill in all of those cracks with some, possibly some grout. I couldn't think of the words, I'm sorry. So you're just going to continue along as fast as you can. So as you see, I put a full board on the left, and then I put about a 8-inch piece on the right. And then what I did was I just cut about 4 inches off, because I didn't want to make it exactly the same. I didn't want to make a full board and then an 8-inch board and then a full board and an 8-inch board on the other side, because that would look too patterny. So I did was I started by cutting off a little piece there, and I butted up against the table, and now I have quite a much bigger piece left over. So I have not quite a whole tile, and a little less than half of a tile left, because again, I don't really want to make it too little. Like, I don't want to make the pieces too little, I don't want to make them too big, and I don't want them to be any kind of pattern. So I'm just going to continue the whole rest of the way. I will show you a couple of different tricks that we came up with for the corners. For the first corner, I don't know if you saw, but I actually drew the corner on with a Sharpie, and then I cut the corner out with the knife. The second corner you did not see me do while the tile was in place. I didn't realize the camera was up against my arm. But while the tile was in place, I took the green garden shears from the Dollar Tree that look kind of like kitchen scissors, and I used that just to go along the edge of the table to cut the pieces off to make it round. Now we are going to sand the edges of these, so we're going to sand them smooth and even. So to have it absolutely perfect when you cut it is not necessary, but you do want to take off a good portion of the material before you start sanding, or else you'll use all your sandpaper. Okay. And now, like I said, we're just going to continue. I want to make sure that the tiles aren't the same, so I don't have identical tiles next to each other, just sort of the same way we laid the floor tiles. Yep, I'm having to stand up. Yes, people, this is me standing 2 times. Actually, I have to stand quite a bit for this project, but I just want to make sure that I have everything as perfectly exact as possible. The main reason I said is for the integrity of the flooring. Now, this is a really inexpensive peel and stick vinyl floor, which is easy to clean. It is supposed to be stain resistant. Don't know, haven't actually stained my floor yet, so I couldn't tell you, but I guess this will be the test. This craft tabletop will be the test. But I hope you guys do appreciate this, because of all the years of teaching you crafting on this old kitchen table, it made me think of it's time to have a refresh, a restart, and a redo. Since the craft room has been refreshed, and the new flooring and the new furniture and the new organization system that we have, I figured the tabletop was the pièce de résistance, was the last final step of getting the crafting going. If you want to be inspired to create, definitely start off with a brand new surface. There's nothing more inspiring to create than a brand new surface. So I'm showing you here just how I'm running along the sandpaper. If I that last piece I didn't cut quite exactly the way I wanted it to, so I just brushed it off, sanded it off really quickly to knock the burr off of, I guess, so I wouldn't catch my meat on it. That's really what the reason was. I sanded in the middle of everything. And then we're just going to continue, okay? Now, this entire project, I had the box cutter, I had the sandpaper. I used about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, less than $10 worth of tiles. No, less than 10 tiles, so that's less than $15. There are other cheaper ways to cover you can cover your tabletop with contact paper. With contact paper, though, you do have to be careful when you cut on it, and you have to really get your undercoat really smooth. You have to make sure that there's no imperfections in your wood at all, because they will totally 100% ruin the integrity of the contact paper. With this flooring, it does have a little bit of leeway. You do have a little bit of room for error, I guess. And plus, this is just a lot more of a permanent thing. What I had originally wanted to do, and I had gotten it priced from a local glass place, is I wanted to get a glass tabletop cut, because this way with glass, as you know, everything cleans off of glass with some sort of scraper or something. You can always get everything off of glass. And what I was going to do was I was going to put down this really great wallpaper, not wallpaper, it was wrapping paper that I got at Walmart after Christmas clearance that kind of looked like wood flooring, and I knew I'd be able to replace it as my style changed and this, that, and the other, but it was really out of my budget. It was going to be close up to $100 for a custom tabletop. I'm sure I could have probably shopped around and find something less expensive, but I really needed it to be tempered glass, and like I said, I really just needed to make sure that it was the right size. I have been looking on Marketplace and stuff to see if anybody's getting rid of an old glass table that I can just, kind of steal the top from. But for right now, this is the solution that we came up with, less than $20, okay? Now, just like when we did the floor, you're going to score twice, snap it once, and then go ahead and peel the backing off, set up the factory edges, and then cut off the other edges. I did have one that I wanted to show you, one other thing that I didn't get to show you off to the side here, where I took the cutter and I went underneath because one tile was really extra long. And then after I scored it 3 or 4 times, I took the top. From the top, I kind of knocked the pieces off. And unfortunately, that whole piece got cut off. So I'm really sorry. But basically, if you cut your piece of tile, instead of sanding it for 2 inches deep, you can, from underneath, you can score your tile a few times as long as you're holding it down. Snap it from the top, and it'll snap off in pieces, and then you can handle the sanding much better. Okay, so that's it for now. If you guys can't wait to share and we start crafting, if nobody's told you you're loved, you can always come by and hear how much I love you, because I love you guys very much. Thank you for joining me, and as always, you take care. God bless, and we'll see you next time. Bye.